I'm just going to say that all the clocks in this room seem to be at slightly different time, so it's very difficult. Anyway, welcome and thank you all very much for coming. My name is Councillor Sue Wilson and I'm currently Chairman of the Council. And I'd like to open this annual general meeting of the full Council by welcoming members in the Chamber and those who have joined us virtually. The meeting is being broadcast via the Council's YouTube channel, and I would also like to welcome members of the public who are viewing this meeting via the broadcast. The meeting is taking place via a hybrid platform, which most members are present in the Chamber, but there are also some members and Council officers who have joined the meeting on Zoom, and I'm being assisted by the Governance Officer who will help me to manage the chat function. The members who are attending via Zoom are able to participate in the debate of any item before the Council this evening. However, they are not permitted to vote. Only those members present in the Chamber this evening can vote on any item this evening. It's going to get worse, this with my throat. If members wish to speak, can you please indicate by clearly raising your hand? And those members who are joining the meeting via Zoom, please indicate on the chat function. Also in attendance this evening via Zoom are representatives of the 3 charities which I have supported during my term as Chairman of the Council. And I'd like to say a very big welcome to Brian Burrows of Home Start Essex, Paul Lemon, who's had a really big operation but recovering well, of the Colne Valley Railway Preservation, and Stan Davis of the Friends of Flitchway and Associated Woodlands. For your safety and those around you, members are requested to remain seated when speaking on any item under consideration this evening. I will now proceed to the first item on the agenda. Apologies for absence. We have apologies from Councillor Mary Cunningham, Councillor Charlie Dervish, Councillor Angela Kilmartin, Councillor Mick Radley, Councillor Safe Raymond, Councillor Tom Walsh and Councillor Nick Unsworth. I don't know if there's anybody else. No, I don't think so. And members, before moving on to the next items, I'd like to advise you that the following members are joining this meeting virtually via Zoom: Councillor Kevin Bowers, Councillor Trevor McArdle, Councillor Lynn Walters, Councillor Michelle Weeks and Councillor Darren White. As I've already advised, the members can participate in the debate this evening but cannot vote. So I'll now proceed to agenda item 2, the Chairman's address to the Council. As the outgoing Chairman of this Council, I would like to address full Council. After I've made my address, I will invite the representative of my nominated charities to say a few words. I apologise for this. I think it's those COVID injections, you know, they affect your voice, so they say. Anyway, I've just had the honour of being Chairman of the Braintree District Council for my 2nd term of office, and what a wonderful year it has been, and it really has been a super year. Despite still having to contend with COVID, I have managed to visit many businesses and organisations, especially in the more remote areas of our district. And it never ceases to amaze me how much enthusiastic hard work is carried out by volunteers to support and unite our communities. I've also had the privilege of meeting some amazing people, a parish clerk who has served her community tirelessly without complaining for over 40 years, and a group of dedicated gardeners who are growing vegetables for anyone in their community to help themselves at no cost whatsoever. I was also very lucky to still be in office to wish one of my favourite clergymen a happy retirement. He has been a tremendous support not only to Braintree District Council but also to the local community and myself. Unfortunately, representatives from my chosen charities are unable to join me tonight, but I know they're here with us via Zoom, and as I said before, they're going to talk to you in a minute. That's members of the Flitchway, Homestart and the Colne Valley Railways. I've had the privilege of visiting all these charities this year, and I know how hard they have all worked to help people in our district. And although fundraising has been much more onerous this year, I'm very glad to be in a position to be able to send them a donation which will arrive shortly. All these organisations and many, many more do a tremendous amount of work, and certainly in these unpredictable times need all the support that we can give them. However, much as I would like to go on forever, I would like to say a final enormous thank you to Braintree District Council for choosing me to carry out such a wonderfully rewarding role on their behalf. And I'd like to take this opportunity of wishing Councillor Andrew Hensman my very best wishes for the forthcoming year, which I hope he enjoys as much as I have. Thank you. Now, hang on.
Chairman, if you could invite your charities
Yes.
to say a few words.
Okay, can you all hear? Oh. Right, Brian Burrows, can you hear us?
Yes, Chairman, I can. Can I thank the Chairman of the Council for the very generous donation we're set to receive as being part of one of your charities of the year. Homestart Essex send volunteers into parents' homes where they're struggling maybe to bring up their children. These volunteers go in weekly to support the families and have great success. We also have family groups, and specifically in Braintree District, we have family groups in Whittam, Braintree and Halstead, and they've also made a big difference, I think, to those families. So thank you, Chairman, for a very generous donation.
Thank you, Brian. I understand Paul isn't with us, Paul, who's just had this operation. Is there anybody from Colne Valley Railway?
No one with us this evening, Madam
No.
Chairman.
Okay, and Stan Davis, Friends of the Flitchway.
Thank you, Chairman. We were most honoured and very pleased to be nominated by you as one of your charities of the year. And it's been good meeting you on a couple of occasions during this year. We were even more pleased to be notified of the generous donation that we will be receiving shortly. And the donation will go firstly to pay for a replacement window in our community carriage at Rain Station, and also go towards paying for protective clothing and essential expenses for our wonderful volunteers that we have. Thank you again.
Thanks very much, Dan. So can I, Brian and Stan, Paul, as I said, had a rather serious operation recently, so probably why he's not here. But can I invite you to leave this meeting now? If you wish to watch the remainder of the evening's meeting, you can do so via the Council's YouTube channel. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman.
Members, for the next item of the agenda, agenda item number 3, I will hand over to Andy Wright, Chief Executive.
Thank you, Chairman, and good evening, members. On behalf of the Council, I'd like to congratulate Councillor Wilson on another very successful year as Chairman of Braintree District Council, having also been Chairman in 2014-15. I think it's fair to say it's been another challenging year, Chair, and it's flown by, but I don't think there's any doubt that you've set a record for the most variations on how to hold a full council meeting, from virtual through to a variety of hybrid formats and at different venues as well. I'm hopeful we won't have to do the same thing again. Yeah. But seriously, I'd like to thank you for taking all of this in your stride, because it has made things a little bit more difficult in terms of the organisation around meetings. As the year has progressed, though, you've been able to become more active and attended 65 engagements through the year, as well as supporting your 3 charities that we've just heard from. You also hosted 2 well-received civic events, namely a Christmas service at St Peter's Church and a civic reception at Rivenall Oaks. The civic reception was attended by many of the contacts that you've made throughout the civic year, which was really pleasing to see that level of community engagement. And they all enjoyed a game of crazy golf, including myself. I think I spent the first 3 holes with my hand in the water, having to get my ball out of the water. I've never played crazy golf with so much water around, but good fun, enjoyed by all. One of the main aims you had when you started out in the year was to visit small businesses and community groups across the district. And again, as the year progressed, this has proved to be increasingly successful in raising the profile of the various organisations, the district and also the council. In your note to council, you mentioned the community visits, but also you were visiting several small businesses across the district, supported by officers from the economic development team. These visits have increased our understanding of the various businesses, seen how they're recovering from the pandemic, and where's appropriate, we've been able to provide advice on potential funding sources and so forth. So I know that's also been really helpful to the economic development team in understanding our business base more and more. In conclusion, I'd like to thank you for your significant contribution to the Braintree district throughout your 2 terms as chairman, something you can be justly proud of. And in recognition of this, I would like to present you with your citation and photo album, which are displayed at the back. We're not going to formally present this evening, but they're displayed at the back if members want to have a look at them. And hopefully the photo album will bring back some very happy memories of your year. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I'd now like to invite the various group leaders to speak around the chairman, Councillor Butland.
Thank you, Chief Executive. Sue, on behalf of the Conservative members, I'd like to thank you very much for the way in which you have controlled us all during the last year. Your sense of humour, sometimes a wicked sense of humour, which has been most enjoyable. As Andy has said, you've had perhaps one of the most difficult times in that we have met in a variety of places, in a variety of ways. It's not easy chairing a meeting when you've got members also sat behind you on a screen, or indeed in a tiered theatre as we've had. But you have nevertheless stuck to the task and made sure that all our meetings have indeed been run very smoothly. So on behalf of this side, we thank you very much for the time that you've given to that, but also the work that you've done in the community and getting out and about meeting the various organisations which you've already paid for. So thank you very much, Madam Chairman.
Thank you very much.
Councillor Abbott.
Thank you, Chief Executive. Yes, I would concur with those remarks and would particularly congratulate the Chairman on her support for her 3 charities and the very large number of engagements she's attended through the year, and certainly concur on the good work of so many local organisations which have persisted despite, as this council has had to deal with the pandemic. And totally agree with the words of the Chief Executive. It's good to be back in Causeway House and hope we remain here. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you very much.
Councillor Pell.
Thank you, Chief Executive. I too, on behalf of Houston Residents Association, would also like to be associated with the words that my 2 colleagues have just said. As a past chairman, I know how difficult it can be, and I don't know if I could have coped with what Sue has coped with this year. It really has been a varied year of Zoom meetings and at the school in Witham, where we sat in rows up high. Difficult to hear that. I don't know how she managed to see what it was that we was all hoping to do and achieve. She has been very sociable to all of us. She's been herself, and I think that's most important, that you are yourself. And from Houston's point of view, I'd like her to thank her for the cooperation that she's given to us. She's been to many of our events and has asked, can she come again next year, because she's enjoyed it so much. And we have found it a pleasure having her. So congratulations, and we look forward to what you do in the future.
It's the highlight of my year, the torchlight procession in Houston. I love it.
Councillor Mann.
Thank you. The chairman's job description is a very daunting one. As first citizen of Braintree District, you're asked to be a presider, an ambassador, promoter, host, a representative at community and civic and ceremonial functions. That obviously hasn't put you off because you've come back for a second helping. So you've been very committed and successfully fulfilled all these roles within your latest term of office. Not only that, but you've done it, as we've seen, in an open, accessible, good-humoured, cheerful style. Tony and I thank you for all that you've done for the council over the past year and all that you may do for it in the future.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you very much, Andy. And I'll now move on to item number 4, to elect the chairman of Braintree District Council for the civic year 2022 to 23. Members, please can I have have nominations for the chairman of the council for the new civic year?
Madam Chairman, I would like to nominate Councillor Andrew Hensman.
Thank you. Is there a seconder for this nomination?
I'd like to second that nomination. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Cunningham. Are there any further nominations? No. There are no further nominations. I will therefore proceed to put this nomination to the vote. Members, for this item, I will be seeking your agreement to the election of Councillor Andrew Hensman for the chairman of the council. Please can I also remind you that only those members who are present in the chamber are permitted to vote. Can I have a show of hands, please?
Sorry, Madam Chairman, I thought I was just formally... Yes, I was going to support the nomination. I thought I was just formally moving it and then saying a few words. If you wouldn't mind, as one of your last acts of kindness, allow me just to say a few words. I'd be very grateful.
You please do so.
Thank you. Okay. Madam Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, fellow councillors, it's my great privilege to propose Councillor Andrew Hensman as chairman of this council for the coming year. Members will know that this is Andrew's second term as a councillor. He was first elected in 2015 as one of the 3 councillors for what was then the newly created seat of Braintree Central and Beccles Green, to which he was re-elected in 2019. It's interesting that tonight Andrew, in becoming chairman, will become the second member of his family to have held such a position, in that his late father was the chairman, and I have to be careful that I pronounce this right, of Salin and Steel End Community Council in Scotland, a group of villages not far away from Dumbarton or Dunfermline. And so quite an achievement to follow one's father in terms of being the chairman of a council. Of course, also tonight, we are, in effect, I think, making some history in local government, in that we will be electing the first autistic chairman of any local authority in this country. And I think that is something that we collectively should be proud of in terms of the inclusivity that we show as a council. Now, Andrew is a man of many talents. And again, in many ways, he follows the example of his father. When his father died in 2018, the local community actually turned out in force to the funeral. His father was a very well-respected man in the community, and reading some of the comments that were made at the time by the Reverend conducting the funeral service, as I read through that, I actually thought that is Andrew following in his father's footsteps. One of the pieces of paper that was found by the Reverend Shuttleworth, who was conducting the service, in Andrew's father's paper, said, "This is my code of practice. I shall pass through this world but once. Any good, therefore, I can do, or any kindness that I can show any human being, let me do it now. Let me not defer or neglect it, for I shall not pass this way again." And I could not help, Andrew, when reading that, of thinking that you are following in your father's footsteps. There are members within this council and members within the area of Braintree who recognise the good work that you do and the way in which you go that extra mile to help people. And I just want to give one little example from my own personal experience, just to demonstrate that. You may recall that during the pandemic, we had a group meeting, which was a virtual group meeting. And about halfway through it, I suddenly lost contact with the group. Some may say not for the first time, but I lost contact with the group and was plunged into virtual non-entity, into being a virtual non-entity. For whatever reason, I could not get things going, and then discovered that, in fact, half my house had actually lost electric power. The switches had gone dead, and it wasn't just a fuse, which was the limit of my technical expertise. I rang a local, went to the Yellow Pages, or what used to be Yellow Pages, rang, "Yes, we'll come, £180, and we'll be there in a couple of hours." That was due to be about 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock they rang and said, "We'll be about another 4 hours, but of course that will mean you'll be after midnight, so the rate will have increased." I'd no sooner put the phone down than Andrew rang me and said, "How are things going?" And I explained to Andrew, and he said, "I'll come over and sort it out for you." I knew he had a reasonable amount of knowledge, so someone I trusted to do it. But I said, "How are you going to get over here?" He said, "Oh, I'll get on my bike and ride over." I said, "No, if you're going to come over here at 10 o'clock, I'll come and least I can do is come and pick you up, etc." And we did that. He got all the equipment. He came over. Not only did he get me going, he identified the cause of it. And this was, I think, I started taking home about half past midnight. That's just a very small example of someone who is always willing to help. And he's shown that throughout his whole life in terms of his volunteering from a young age, trustee of various national charities, and of course the work that he has done in Essex, championing the cause of autism. I personally have learnt a lot from him, Madam Chairman, in terms of how that affects people and how they perceive the world and that. It's very difficult sometimes for a new councillor at the best of times. I think it was particularly challenging for Andrew, but I think you have passed that challenge enormously, and I am delighted tonight to be able to nominate you as Chairman of the Council for 2022-23. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you very much. Sorry about that. Right, let's go here.
Madam Chairman, I understand Councillor Cunningham is second. I would like to say a few words too.
Just thank you, Madam Chairman. Just very briefly, in seconding Councillor Hensman's nomination to be Chairman of Braintree District Council, it's very difficult to add anything else to what the leader has just said, but it's an absolute pleasure to second nomination for a very dedicated local councillor, an absolute community champion, and, as the leader alluded to, an exceptionally talented man. And if council are minded to agree in a very short time, we wish him every success and happiness in what's going to be, I think, a very busy year and a very fulfilling year for Councillor Hensman. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you very much. Members, can I also remind you, sorry, I'm having to go back here. Yeah, members, for this item, I will be seeking your agreement that the election of Councillor Andrew Hensman for the Chairman of the Council. Please can I also remind you that only those members who are present in the chamber are able to vote. Please can members indicate by a show of hands. Thank you very much. Thank you, members. The motion is carried, and I can confirm that Councillor Andrew Hensman has been elected as Chairman of the Council for the civic year 2022 to 23. Well done. With Councillor Hensman being elected as Chairman of the Council, this concludes my term of office as Chairman, and I'll now hand the meeting over to Councillor Hensman. And members, please can we pause for a moment whilst Councillor Hensman takes the chair and to sign his acceptance of office. And it's nice and moving for you. I do.
Well, thank you very much, members, for your patience whilst I have signed my acceptance of office. I'd now like to make a short acceptance address. And how do I follow that? Nearly moved to tears. Thank you, Councillor Butland. But I can't believe it. Me. As I say, thank you, Councillor Butland, for your kind words. With family links in Braintree and Bocking going back to about 1675, surprisingly being around a century before the Courtauls. I think this would have been getting towards the time of the Kelloggs. It's amazing what simple search in Braintree Museum turned up all those years ago when I first arrived. It floored me when I later found a link with John Bunyan. Ever curious, I've since discovered links to the Livermores and the Tabors, to name but a few. And it seems I was destined to come here for many reasons. Maybe one for Braintree version of Who Do You Think You Are? So as the second of my family to be chairman of a council, I'm the second of my family to have come to Braintree in the first instance. So it seems a night of seconds, and here I am as the second chairman this evening. Back to my own roots, as Councillor Butland wasn't sure, I was born in Dunfermline, within about a half mile of the birthplace of my town's most famous son, none other than Andrew Carnegie. But I can't quite compete with him, as I believe that there was once a Carnegie sports field, possibly donated to Whittam, among other things, worldwide. But did you know that Dunfermline also has similarities with Braintree? For example, this being the unique Platinum Jubilee year, Windsurthers in Dunfermline made the silk for the then Princess Elizabeth's wedding dress. Well, many will know that Warner's in Braintree contributed towards Her Majesty's coronation gown. Dunfermline has also gone through transformations similar to Braintree, and it gave me the confidence with what this district is doing. After all, we're not Chelmsford, we're not Colchester, and we must embrace our differences. Speaking of differences, it's one small step from there to here for man, but one giant leap for awareness, understanding and acceptance of neurological diversity. Like Andrew Carnegie, I too, as Councillor Butland has already indicated, will be philanthropic, and I have a desire to promote the welfare of others. After all, it's our residents that put us here, something we must never forget. There is usually a monetary connotation to philanthropy, and the nearest I can get is the Chairman's charities. I have my differences, and my civic year will be no exception. During my term of office as Chairman, I will be taking a different approach to the Chairman's charities. We will continue to fundraise throughout the year, but rather than identifying charities at the beginning of my term, I'd like to be able to make donations to charities and community groups who I come across during my time as Chairman. So there's chances for those that are coming on board, those that are there and suddenly have an appeal. Well, it's not a case of all come running at once. You've got a chance any time during the year. I could say Councillor Mann has seen my speech in that he alluded to my wishing to focus my time as Chairman for being an ambassador for the Council and the district itself, and look forward to engaging with individuals, communities and businesses who work or operate within the district. I would very much welcome suggestions and ideas from members to help with raising the profile of the Council and the district and to promote the aims and values of the Council within its community. If you have any, please contact the Civic team with the details on the email of civic@braintree.gov.uk, so it's nice and easy. Well, the Council has made history this evening and are now openly leading by example, and this is something very special. Without all your help and support, I certainly wouldn't have been put in this position today. People tell me I've come a long way in recent years, and I hope I can inspire others to heighten their aspirations. Autistic children grow up to be autistic adults, and with the right support, anything is possible. More recently, people like Chris Packham and Anne Hegarty have put autism in the spotlight. Here, I'm afraid you've got me. It would be very remiss of me if I wasn't to mention, if we can turn the camera that way, Karen, who's sitting at the back. She's guided me first in the community and then throughout my journey to be here tonight. So I'd like to thank Karen for her continued support. And together, let's put the Braintree District on the map for the right reasons. Thank you, members. Well, I'll now proceed to agenda, to attend to the business on the agenda. The next item of business is the agenda item 5, to elect the Vice Chairman of Braintree District Council for the civic year 2022-23. Members, please could I have nominations for the Vice Chairman of the Council for the new civic year?
Yes, Chairman. I'd like to nominate Councillor Diana Garrod as the Vice Chairman for the new civic year.
Thank you, Councillor McKay. Is there a seconder for this nomination?
Yes, Chairman. I'd like to second Councillor Garrod as Vice Chairman for the civic year. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Parker. Are there any further nominations? There are none. With no further nominations, so I'll proceed to put this to the vote.
Chairman, if I may, in the same vein as we did with Councillor
Okay.
with the Chairman's vote, if you could invite Councillor McKee to say a few words in support of this nomination.
Okay, so Councillor McKee, would you like to say some words? Thank you.
I would very much like to say some words. Thank you, Chairman. It gives me great pleasure, and I think it's a privilege to be able to nominate Councillor Garrod, and I'm continue to call her Diana from now on in, because it's much easier. Diana's lived in Braintree District all her life and was elected for the Bumstead ward at a by-election in October 2016, and then re-elected again in May 2019, and has been a passionate advocate for the residents of her ward, which, those you know it, it's a very rural ward in the north of the district. This support for her local community has also been reflected in her 18-year tenure on Sturmer Parish Council, where currently she serves as chairman. On BDC, she has served on the Overview and Scrutiny Committee, incorporating the Task and Finish Group scrutiny review into social isolation and loneliness, and I think that was driven by her recognition that actually there is such a thing in the rural district, and the very rural parts of the area suffer more with loneliness than perhaps the urban parts. And the Task and Finish Group for Scrutiny Review into the role of the Highway Authority. In 2018, she served on the Community Governance Review Committee, and in May 2019 was appointed to the Appeals Committee and Chairman of Overview and Scrutiny Community Development Committee. Diana serves as the Council's representative on the Dedham Vale area of outstanding natural beauty and the Store Valley Joint Advisory Committee, utilising her love of the countryside to great effect. Outside the Council, Diana is an associate member of the Chartered Institute of Personnel and Development, is a fundraiser for medical research charity for children, and is a director of a private health company. Quite a busy life outside the Council. It is with great pleasure, and it's an honour, to propose Councillor Diana Garrett to serve as Vice Chairman for the next civic year, and I'm sure she'll make a splendid job in supporting Councillor Hensman. I so move.
Thank you, Councillor McKee. Councillor Mrs Parker, would you like to say a few words?
Just a very few words to say. It has been my great pleasure to second Councillor Garrett. I think she's been an excellent chairman. She's a very, very dedicated councillor, and look forward to her hopefully becoming Vice Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Parker. Members, for this item will be seeking your agreement to the election of Councillor Mrs Diana Garrett for the Vice Chairman of the Council. Please can you indicate by way of a show of hands? That's unanimous. Thank you, members. So I'd therefore like to confirm that Councillor Mrs Diana Garrett has been elected as Vice Chairman of the Council for the civic year 2022 to 2023. And I'd like to invite Councillor Mrs Garrett to take her seat and to sign her acceptance of office as Vice Chairman. Thank you, members, for your patience. Councillor Mrs Garrett, would you like to make an acceptance speech?
I would indeed. Thank you, Chairman. I would indeed. Thank you, Chairman. First of all, I'd like to thank Councillor McKee and Councillor Mrs Parker. Councillor McKee, thank you very much for your kind words. I'm honoured to be nominated as Vice Chairman and very much look forward to the year ahead and supporting the Chairman in his activities. And to represent the Chairman as and when necessary, when required at events. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Garrett, and I'd like to add my own welcome. We've worked well over the last years together, and I think it's really good to have somebody from the rural north as well as another from the town. You can't get much further north if you tried in the district, because if you go over the back fence, you'll be in Suffolk. But there we go, Braintree District's much better. I'll now move on to item 6, which is to receive any announcements from the Chairman of the Council. And as we've had acceptance speeches, I guess there are none. Oh, okay. So I do not have any formal announcements this evening, as I've said, but there are a number of events already planned for me to attend, and I look forward to providing members with an update on those events in due course. Councillor Cunningham has already said he's going to keep me very busy, including already having one in my diary for tomorrow. So, as I previously mentioned, I would welcome member suggestions to add to these planned events to fulfil my ambition to be the ambassador for the council and to visit the diverse communities and businesses in our district. As there are no further announcements I need to make for this meeting, I'll proceed to item 7, minutes of the previous meeting. Members, please can I have a proposer to approve the minutes as an accurate record of the meeting of full council held on the 28th of March 2022?
Move, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Butland. I now seek a seconder.
Seconded, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Cunningham. So the minutes have been moved and seconded as an accurate record. All those in favour, please indicate. Thank you. Any against? Or any abstention? Okay. Thank you, members. We'll now proceed to agenda item 8, declarations of interest. Okay. Before I call for declarations of interest, please can I advise you that there is no need for members to declare an individual interest in any potential appointments in the reports tonight, as they are matters of council arrangements impacting on all councillors. Do members have any disposable pecuniary interest, other pecuniary interest or non-pecuniary interest that they wish to declare this evening? If so, can you please state the item and the nature of your interest? Okay, there are none. So I'll proceed to item 9, Leader of the Council. Members, we are asked to note that Councillor Graham Butland is the Leader of the Council as appointed by Council at its meeting on the 21st of May 2019 for the 4-year term of the Council. Members, for this item, your silence will therefore be taken that it is noted. Thank you, members. I will now proceed to item 10, approval for non-attendance at council meetings. This item is set out on pages 6 to 8 of the agenda. Please can I invite Councillor Butland, Leader of the Council, to speak on this report and move the recommendation. Please can I remind you that before you make your speech, the recommendation must be moved and seconded.
I formally move the recommendations in paragraph 2 on page 6 of the agenda.
Thank you, Councillor Butland. Councillor Butland has moved that the recommendation is set out on page 6 of the agenda. Please can I have a seconder?
Seconded, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Cunningham. Do you wish to reserve your right to speak?
Nothing else to add, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. I now invite Councillor Butland to speak on this matter.
Thank you, Chairman. In presenting this paper, I should say it is a paper which has been discussed with the group leaders and is unanimously agreed by the group leaders. This is to tackle the still uncertain times that we face with the pandemic, and recognising that there will be some members who, for very reasonable reasons, will not be able to attend in-person meetings of this council, either because of their clinical condition or indeed that they are obeying public health advice still if they are currently have COVID. Unfortunately, the government did not amend or extend those regulations which were brought in during 2020, and this is to ensure that no elected member, whichever part of the council they sit, should be disadvantaged by not being able to attend a meeting through cause of illness, etc. I would say this does not permit any member to go off to the Caribbean for a 6-month period and think that their absence will be sanctioned. It will not. But I think this is a way in which we can ensure that people who have genuine reasons are not penalised. So as with this evening and previous meetings, that being absent from the actual meeting, if you are present on the screen virtual, your attendance will be counted as being there for the purpose of the 6-month rule. But of course, members will not be able to vote, etc., as the legislation requires people to be present in the chamber as that takes place. That, in a nutshell, summarises the paper before us, and I so move the recommendations on page 6. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Butland. Do any members wish to speak on this item? Councillor Abbott.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and welcome to your new role. I just wanted a bit more clarity, please, if the leader could, albeit that this has been through group leaders. I still wrestle a little bit with the paragraph 3.4 about the court case. It says there, the court case made it clear that attending a meeting virtually does not count as attending the meeting for the purpose of the 6-month rule. Could he clarify how that exactly applies, therefore, in this discussion?
Through you, Chairman, I think it would be more appropriate if the monitoring officer gave the legal advice on that, if that's okay.
Yes, that's fine. Mrs. Cole.
No problems. In relation to that hearing, that was to address virtual attendance by members. What you're being asked today is to consider agreeing a dispensation for all members in terms of their absence by virtue of a link to COVID or following the COVID public health guidance. So virtually standalone members would not be able to participate or count towards their attendance as part of that outcome of that hearing. But tonight you're being asked to look at the dispensation aspect, which is a power under the Local Government Act that enables you to authorise members' absence as a result of what's been put before you tonight.
Thank you.
Sort of. I'll take the advice of the monitoring officer. Yeah.
You happy? Thank you. Any other members wish to speak?
He said he didn't have anything.
Yeah.
So you can move to the vote, which is item A.
Right. That's what was responded to. Councillor Butland, as the proposer of the recommendations, have you got anything else you wish to add?
No, I think that's fine. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Thank you, members. The recommendation set out on page 6 of the agenda has been moved and seconded. All those in favour, please indicate. That is unanimous. Thank you, members. We'll now deal with agenda item 11, council appointments. This item is set out on pages 9 to 18 of the agenda, and I would like to invite the leader of the council, Councillor Butland, to introduce the report and move the recommendations set out on page 9 of the agenda. Councillor Butland.
I formally move, Chairman, the recommendation in paragraph 2 on page 9 of the agenda.
Thank you, Councillor Butland. And can I have a seconder?
Seconded, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cunningham. Do you wish to reserve your right to speak?
Reserve right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Cunningham. I now invite Councillor Butland to speak on this matter.
Chairman, this report has the membership of committees where necessary done in accordance with the Widdicombe rules, so that there is political equality, not equality, otherwise we have the same numbers, political, the right political proportions. Again, I think they have been shared with group leaders, and I therefore move those parts and the appointments to outside bodies as set out in Appendix B, where again, with outside bodies, we have tried to ensure that people who are appointed, wherever possible, are local members rather than political appointees, to keep that link between the council and local communities. And I so move, Chairman, that we approve the appointments to committees as set out in Appendix A and the appointment to outside bodies as set out in Appendix B.
Thank you, Councillor Butland. Do any members wish to speak on this item? No? Councillor Cunningham, you reserved your right to speak.
And nothing else to add. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Cunningham. Councillor Butland, as the proposer of the recommendations, anything else to add? No? Okay. So the recommendations set out on page 9 of the agenda have been moved and seconded. All those in favour, please indicate. That's unanimous. Thank you, members. We'll now deal with the agenda item 12, the leaders' announcements and the cabinet updates. So this item is set out on pages 19 to 26 of the agenda. And before I invite the leader of the council, Councillor Graham Butland, to introduce the report, I'd like to remind members that this report is for noting only. Councillor Butland.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, could I just, though, before I formally move it, that there was, unfortunately, an omission on page 25 on the member development group, where Councillor Mrs. Pell, who has been a member of the group for many years, has inadvertently been left off, and we would wish to put that name in as well. So, with the addition of Councillor Mrs. Pell as a member of the member development group on page 25, I would ask Council to note the recommendations on page, in paragraph 2 on page 19.
Thank you, Councillor Butland. Would any members like to speak on this item? No, looks like everyone wants to get home early tonight. And therefore, I guess, Councillor Butland, you'll have nothing to add.
No.
So, thank you, Councillor Butland. And members, as I've advised, this report is for noting. Can I take it that the report is noted? Thank you, members. We'll now deal with agenda item 13, annual review of the Constitution. This item is set out on pages 27 to 36 of the agenda, and I'd like to invite the leader of the council, Councillor Butland, to introduce the report and to move the recommendations set out on page 27 of the agenda. Councillor Butland.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, I formally move the amendments to the Constitution as set out in Appendix A. Shall I continue, or do you want me to pause there?
Chairman, if you want to call for a secondary, then Councillor Butler can expand on the report.
Okay, can I have a seconder then, please?
Happy to second, Mr. Chairman. And reserve right. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cunningham. Okay, Councillor Butler, you
Thank
may expand.
you, Chairman. Chairman, members will be aware that we carried out a full and comprehensive update of our Constitution, which was agreed at our AGM in April 2021. As very often happens with this, as you move through the year, you notice things which need a bit of tweaking, etc. That is what we have done to review the work that we carried out last time. The changes this time, which have been discussed by the Developing Democracy Group before coming to full council, in the main are tidying up, and you'll see the reasons for any changes given in the final column of the Appendix A, and therefore I move the amendments to the Constitution as are set out in Appendix A. I so move, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Butland. Do any members wish to speak on this item? Yeah, I do believe it's Councillor Mann's third go at seeing this, so he's probably had enough of it. Okay, nobody wishes to speak on this one. Councillor Cunningham, you wish to speak?
Nothing to add. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, then we'll move to the vote. The recommendation is set out on page 27 of the agenda, which has been moved and seconded. All those in favour, please indicate. Thank you, members. That is unanimous. We'll now deal with agenda item 14, annual timetable of meetings for 2022-23. Members, this item is set out on page 5 of the agenda, and you are asked to confirm the dates of the council meetings for the civic year 2022-23. Please, can I have a proposer?
Move, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Butland. Do you wish to speak? Can I have a seconder?
Seconded, Mr. Chairman. Nothing to add, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Cunningham. Do any members wish to speak on this item? No? Well, thank you, members. As I've advised, we are asked to confirm the dates of meetings of full council for the civic year 2022-23. Please, can I take it that these dates are confirmed? Thank you, members. Well, you'll be very pleased to know that this item concludes our business for this annual general meeting. And I would also like to thank members for their attendance at this annual general meeting of the council, those watching the meeting via the council's YouTube channel, and those joining us virtually on Zoom. So I close this meeting at 2011. Thank you, members. I think that's a record.